Hello BookTube, I'm Peg and welcome to my channel and the first day of VLOGMAS 2017. If you didn't catch my introductory video a couple days ago where I talked about my plans for VLOGMAS, I'll just quickly tell you that I plan to read over 30 mysteries that have been on the mystery and crime fiction prize lists this year, and talk about them and give my viewpoint. These are the different prizes I have listed below. The big ones are the EDGAR Award, which is given here in the U.S. and is sponsored by the Mystery Writers Association, and the Dagger prizes in the UK. There's like 10 different categories, and I'll be concentrating in both of those on the Best Novel Award and the Best Debut Novel Award. And so there are also the three other prizes I'll be reading some from, and the explanation is below on those three, and I'll be talking about more there later. So I plan to just kind of grab randomly one of the books. I have gotten all the books from the list at my great library, so as long as I can keep renewing those, I'll be fine. But today I did kind of pick a good one. I didn't want to start out with a loser. So I picked a really, really good one, which was a reread for me. I read it earlier in the year, and it's called The Dry by Jane Harper. Now, this takes place in Australia, and the writer herself is now lives in Australia, has for 10 years. She's originally from the UK, but it sounds like she's pretty much made Australia her home. Before it was ever published in 2015, she won an award for the best unpublished manuscript that they must give there. It was the Victorian Premier's Prize that she won before it was ever published. When it was published, it became the #1 bestseller in Australia. So in 2016, it was picked up and published both here in the US and the UK. And I'll just give you the best part now. It actually won the Golden Dagger, the Best Novel Award, Best Mystery Novel Award this year. So we're starting at the top here. I'll be talking about the also runs later. But as I said, I wanted to start with a good one. Okay, just a little bit about it. I'm not going to talk about the plot too much, and certainly not give any spoilers, because I think everybody should read this. It's so good. Okay, it takes place in a small town in Australia that is going through a terrible, well, that whole section of the country is going through a terrible drought. It's been a 2-year drought, and she just does so well with the setting. You can just feel that blistering Australian sun, and the very first scene is just chilling, not in a cold way, but it gives a scene of a murder that's taken place, and some of the effect that the drought has had on the land. And it's really a well set up in that way. Okay, the story briefly concerns a man named Aaron Falk, who is a government agent of some sort in Melbourne and lives quite a ways, but he grew up in this little town. And there is a murder that's taken place, and a supposedly suicide by his former best friend, and he goes back for the funeral. Now, there's a lot of history that's taken place between them and him, and he hasn't really been back for 20 years. So you know right there that he's going to see some old flames and foes, etc. And he does. But it starts out, the action part of it starts out with him going back for the funeral of this best friend that has supposedly killed his wife and child and then committed suicide. Yeah, evidently, it had happened somewhat in that way recently in this story because of the terrible drought and the farmers losing everything, and it was just a very bad time. Okay, so I always like to look at the scene, the first scene, group scene in a mystery novel where the author presents the people, and usually the suspects might be in there or some clues to the suspects. But she does this in a really interesting and great way. She has the scene takes place at the funeral that he goes to, and some of the people he recognizes as he thinks about it a little bit, and you can tell some recognize him, and he kind of left 20 years ago in a little bit of a cloud, so that's kind of hanging over him. But this funeral scene and the meetings afterward really were well done, I thought, and that's one thing that as I said, I always look for in an author, how they do group scenes. So I'm not going to tell you that much more about the story, but I have to say there are some very unusual plot twists, and I had no clue how it was going to come out. I can't imagine that anybody did. And it turns out that it's going to be part of a series. And the next one is due out, and it's called the Aaron Fox series. And the next one is due out February 6th here in the U.S., and it's called A Force of Nature. And I know as a fact, I saw Steve Donahue open, you know how he opens packages of advanced review copy. He has the second one. So it's definitely on the way. I will say that also this one has been optioned for a movie by Reese Witherspoon's production company. So we'll be hearing more about this. And as I said, we're starting out on a real good note. I'm sure they won't all be this great. So I'll see you tomorrow with another one. Bye.